Welcome back to the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast. On today's show, we have Paolo Cordovado. I've known his dad for a number of years, but Paolo is a building operator at Avison Young Real Estate Management Services, recognized as BOMA Toronto's 2023 Emerging Leader of the Year. With a decade of experience, Paolo is a key member of the Ontario operations team, overseeing 2 buildings in the Greater Toronto Area. He excels in problem solving, preventative maintenance, and tenant relations, earning a reputation as the go to person for building needs. Paolo's professionalism extends beyond his role, actively contributing to industry groups, mentoring new operators, and spearheading innovative initiatives such as e waste recycling and piloting barcode systems for preventive maintenance tasks. As a member of Avison Young's Global Operations Task Force, Paolo is shaping the future of CRE operations, demonstrating leadership and dedication to excellence in building management. We're going to talk to him in 1 second. But first, we got to get a grip on Grip Lock, Greg Eric.
We
Grip
do.
Lock
And
systems.
that's right. A lot of people still use chain to hang things. There's no more chain. Get rid of that stuff. Free yourself from the chains.
Chain
Go
is
to
for
Grip Lock.
losers.
That's right. Grip Lock's got the toolless access where you can slide it up and down to whatever level you need. Very secure, safe, and they test all of their product. They have their own engineers on site. Way better than chain. If you're going to hang something, hang it with Grip Lock.
Get a grip. Go to griplocksystems.com. That's GRIPLOCKSYSTEMS.com. Get a grip with Grip Lock. Of course, the National Association of Innovative Lighting Distributors. Big event coming up, Greg.
That's right. St. Paul, August. Got to get here.
Nailed con. If you
Minnesota.
have light bulbs in a warehouse out there, sucker, and you're not in this association, it's on you. This is your association, your crucial shield. That's right. We're fighting for your rights every day at the National Association of Innovative Lighting Distributors. Go to naild.org. Paolo Cordovado, welcome to the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast.
Good day, folks. Good day. How's it going, boys?
Good.
It's good. I think you might be our first guest that's not a lighting designer, a lighting manufacturer, a lighting distributor.
Scientist.
Just an operation person. This is
Uh,
good. This is fun. So you actually buy lighting, is that right?
I mean, you guys don't hand them out for free, so I guess I do have to buy lighting sometimes.
There you go. Do you
Sometimes.
do you care about lighting?
Yes. I mean, it's something that's very easy to, get some savings in. Um, in, in a commercial real estate building, if you know your lighting and system you have, um, could be a great resource.
What do you think you spend if you could break your percentages down and I guess system types? Where does lighting fit in? Is it 10% of your time? Is it 15?
It
Zero?
it really it really all no, it's definitely not a zero.
Yeah.
It really depends on the property. Right now I'm currently in a newer build, so I'm happy to say that in the last 4 years I've replaced one LED fixture. Um, all still working pretty good. We didn't have too many bad apples off of construction. If I had to put a number on it, I'd say about 15 to 35, depending on property. You get into the older buildings that haven't gone through a retrofit, so you're going to be replacing a lot more light bulbs. Depends on what system you have.
Mhm.
Some are a set it and forget it, and some are we got some problems. Look into me,
Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah, and it obviously goes in cycles too. One year you might be heavy lighting, next year you have none. I get that too. Yeah.
I was just talking to an operator, and I was covering his building for a bit, and he goes, "Hey man, it's April 26th. Like you're probably going to be going through a case or two." And I'm like, huh, "Funny you say that. Just finished the case, and I cracked open the second one." Right? So he had his building kind of down to he knew the week and the day, right? Which is yeah,
Interesting. So you have a
yeah.
cadence to this that you're observing in the field where with your maintenance where, if you're spot relamping, you get a feeling. If you're group relamping, you have different sort of possibilities in front of you. I have a joke though. Okay.
Ooh, love a
How
good
many
joke.
how many electricians does it take to change a light bulb in 2024?
Oh my gosh. Oh, honest answer, about four.
Yeah.
No.
The real answer is that the joke's on you because a lot of these new fixtures you can't change a light bulb in. Have you had any issues in your building where there's nothing you can replace in the fixture? You have to pull the whole fixture out and replace it. And if you do, what kind of trouble does that cause for the building down the road?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a couple drivers on some like little pendant lights that have
Hmm.
gone, but yeah, in terms, all my lighting here is 347. I'm
Hmm.
not a licensed electrician, so uh, I don't get too far in my lights.
Mm.
Um, outside of the drivers on the pendant, yeah, it's been a full replacement. That's been done because we have a lot of base building spares.
Mm.
So that just kind of gets thrown into the spare pile. I'm working with my electrician right now to kind of make like a little testing center, um, where I can kind of plug in and see if it's a driver, it's the strip, kind of go through those boatload of spares up in my mechanical room.
Mm.
Um, yeah.
That's good that
Have
you
you ever?
guys have spares. Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, no, it is. And I was going to say, you mentioned drivers or strips. Have you ever actually tried to replace a strip in one of these fixtures, like an LED
Oh
strip?
no,
No.
no,
Okay.
no. I'm
Almost
sure it's
impossible.
yeah, right. Because why would you make the strip easily removable, right? That just makes so much sense, right? Gotta love it.
And
Gotta
of course,
love it. You know, like
Paolo's being sarcastic right now. That's okay.
yes. Oh yeah. Sorry, podcast. Yes, very sarcastic. Yeah. Yeah, no,
So,
thanks for the tip. So if my electrician says he's gonna come in and replace a strip, I know he's trying to get some T&M hours on me.
for sure.
All
Yeah.
right, perfect.
So that's the issue we see for a lot of building operators down the road, downstream. So your building's relatively new, 3 years. So the average life of an LED fixture, Greg, just anecdotally, I would put it at 5 to 7 years.
Fair.
Yeah,
Until that
yeah.
popcorn. You ever pop popcorn in the microwave or on the stove, Paulo, where in the beginning nothing happens, one pop, pop, and then all of a sudden you have pop, 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 pop. So light bulbs work a lot like, or lighting fixtures work a lot like popcorn. They tend to all burn out at the same time if they're used at that amount. I wanted to ask you further on this particular issue. If you started to see significant failures in those LED fixtures, would you look at it as a full replacement of an area? So would you say, I got 6 fixtures out here. The new ones look different than the old ones. They're different now. Would you change all of them, or would you just leave it sort of as is and go along?
Uh, depending on the amount, like if you know 6 out of call it 12, let's call it at a half. You might be able to make it look aesthetically pleasing by changing out the six and leaving the other two. Just kind of have two different quadrant or 6 sections, but yeah, for the most part, keep the consistency, right? You can probably reuse those older fixtures in an area where you put in one or two new
Mm.
fixtures, right? So just kind of reuse, recycle what you got. You're going to need the 12 new ones in a matter of time, so you know, buy yourself some time, keep some consistency, and use the old six somewhere else. Is
So
what I'd probably do.
if you're looking at an office, or because you're in commercial, right? Commercial high-rise offices,
Correct.
yeah.
Yes.
So if you're looking at an office and you have this particular issue down the road, as a building operator, would you seek out a fixture that had replaceable LED tubes in it or something like that? So down the road that you could just maintain it using with replaceable components, or would you switch to a purpose-built fixture again?
I would probably lean towards the tubes. I'm a little bit more of an old school guy. I just feel like, replacing a fixture every time it goes down just seems like a lot of waste, in the whole scheme of things. Like for the building, I'd have to go back to a lighting contractor to be like, hey, could you recycle this? Is he going to scrap the metal? Is he actually going to recycle the fixture and kind of swap out the components? I'd probably go towards the LED tubes. You're either replacing a driver or the tube. Um, Fixture kind of stays the same.
Yeah, the so what's happened in the lighting industry, which I think is germane to building operators is that while we've increased the life of a light source, it appears, Greg, if you agree with me on this, that we've decreased the life cycle of the mechanical housing of the fixture. So what
Sure.
that means is that the actual once the LEDs burn out in a side lit panel or a backlit trough or whatever, that fixture is largely useless now. It can't be retrofitted. Nothing can be replaced. And sometimes you can find a driver, but then you don't really know if it's the driver or not. And drivers can be very expensive, actually. Over $100 is normal for a driver, right? So we have this situation where I think down the road we're going to see building operators, particularly in the type of buildings you manage, these commercial facilities with lots of recessed lighting in troffers and in ceilings, are going to have this kind of problem. Have you budgeted for that?
I have a little bit of a running budget for my lighting. In terms of the popcorn effect, I
Oh,
haven't really put that into the timeline, but now that you say it, homework project number one for me will be getting some pricing on some fixtures because we are kind of creeping up to that 5 to 7 lifespan.
mm,
Um, really hoping that I'm actually going to do a dive on my strips once we're done this on my base
sure.
building lighting. Fine tune it a little bit more if I can. Um, kind of plan for the future. But yeah, in the bigger buildings, I just think you can't be replacing the whole fixture the whole time. You know, um, that's just like you said, it's a lot of waste.
It's
Yeah.
also a
So
waste of our electrical labor. Like we have
Yeah.
a finite amount of electricians that are available to do electrical work. And Canada's in a housing crisis, is trying to build all sorts of houses everywhere. Those electricians are needed elsewhere. They can't be being deployed into buildings to replace fixtures every 5 to 7 to 10 years. And removing all the waste on top of it, like it's all scrap metal after. Just to fill you in on the anecdote you made earlier, that LED these fixtures are just e-waste and scrap metal at the end of their lives. They're not really you can't really do anything with most of them, in terms of a retrofit. So it's something that needs to be acknowledged by building owners and operators. And just on that point, most buildings will amortize a lighting system in their building over 25 years, expecting that they can have a maintenance budget for light bulbs and ballasts. And now what you're seeing, Paulo, is that the entire system needs to be replaced, maybe at 10 years at the latest in a heavily used building. Um,
yeah.
are building operators ready for that? Has the lighting industry done a good job communicating that to you guys?
Uh, not not really, but I mean that's just kind of like every technology, I kind of call it a 5 year cycle. Five years ago it was amazing, top
Hmm.
of the line, couldn't find anything better. 5 years down the road, it's still a great system, but it's probably had a couple updates on it. Something new might have hit the market, new feature, right? So it's constantly changing. So to think you're going to kind of throw in one system and that's going to run you the course of the life and you're never going to have to kind of upgrade or change from that. You really hope that, kind of the suppliers or system providers really kind of look at, okay, how can we upgrade keeping the same infrastructure here? Replacing a controller is fine, but telling me I got to install 15 new controllers to control those 15 lights, I, you know, I'd really like it to work on what is already existing in the building. Don't make too many changes.
for sure.
Yeah,
And so
you know.
you manage two buildings, is that right?
Yeah, currently right now too. Been through a plethora of other ones.
Okay, and the one is a new construction. What is the other building like that you manage?
The other one's older, kind of just do spot replacements there. They did a LED retrofit just before I had got there. Um, Come to find out that they only did tubes, not ballasts. So I mean, even though I do call it an LED retrofit, it was a slim retrofit.
Yeah, they changed the light
I
bulbs, so
guess.
you saved a lot of
Yeah.
energy. Yeah, yeah. That's common in
You know,
Canada though with 347 volt. A lot of people don't want to run live 347 volt to the socket. Um, because it's coming out of the fixture to the socket. Those sockets can break, and so it's
yeah.
quite common because they don't have 347 volts in the states. So it's quite common in Canada to leave the ballast in and stay ballast compatible, simply because of the risk of the voltage at the socket. Even though you're allowed to do it, a lot of building
Yeah,
managers don't want to do it.
should have mentioned they're 120 over there.
Okay, then you could have gone
Yeah.
bypass.
Right, and that's yeah. So I mean, still better than nothing.
Sure.
At the end of the day, I mean, circumstances at the building were obviously a factor in it too. So, um, but yeah, over there was just more of a spot replacement. Couple areas didn't get captured in there, so those were more ballast changes rather than tube replacements.
In terms of energy, okay, are your tenants sub-metered? Do they pay their own electricity bills? Or do you guys include that in the T&M that you charge them with an adjustment at the end of the year?
At my locations, it's all in the like what we call the CAM, um,
Okay.
common area maintenance, I believe it is.
Okay.
That's all kind of factored into their rent. Yeah, so
So
they pay a
the
proportionate share.
right. So there's actually no cost motivation for a property manager like you guys. You don't get the energy savings. Your tenants get the energy savings. It merely makes you a more efficient renter. Is that the
Yeah,
correct way to
I
understand?
mean, yeah, pretty much. I think right now with everybody having kind of ESG goals and
Mm,
teams and targets to hit, it's become a conversation that has happened more frequent. How much energy did we use this year? Can we benchmark it with last year? Are questions that I'm getting asked from my tenants, which never really happened before. It was more just, hey, my lights are out, or someone drove by the building at 2 a.m. and the lights were on. That's kind of the only comment I used to get in the past
mm,
in regards to lighting. Now I'm kind of getting those same ones, but more, hey, is there anything we can do to reduce, right? Um, one of my tenants actually has control of their lighting system as well, so uh, kind of took a little bit of the load off me, but still lean on me as a resource to see if there's any savings they can, capture.
mm. Do you?
You have
You go.
a building automation system at both of them where everything's controlled,
Same
censored.
question.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so the one property, the lighting is on my BAS system. At my other property, I have a Lutron uh, lighting system. So I have access to the Lutron through a BAS, or basically like a front end web page. And then the other site, it was Schneider Electric.
Mm.
So it was just looped into there. So yeah,
And what
scheduled
does it
on and
entail?
off.
Okay, sensors.
Yeah, sensors, relays. This Lutron one over here was kind of set up before the time I was here, but yeah, basically all zoned out, motion sensor, um, geographical timer for the outside and parking lot and stuff. So yeah,
Mm.
Not dimming anywhere.
yeah, yeah. I have dimming at the Lutron building.
Ooh. So you got dimming Lutron ballast in those fixtures? Or is it
I
just
believe
0 to
so.
10?
I believe so.
Yeah.
And this is
You got a
where.
Greg
party
is
ahead of you.
dorking it out with you now.
I'm
Oh
just
yeah,
saying,
no,
you got a
trust me.
party ahead of you.
And this is where keeping all those base building fixtures and um, being on the new side, I haven't had to dig for those problems.
Mm.
So I'll wait till they knock on my door, and now I know who to call.
They're coming. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's one of the things that, Mike and I always talk about is just when somebody makes something so proprietary that they're the only ones who can fix it, and then they get rid of it, which is something that, not to call them out on the show, but I kind of have to. It makes it hard for people like you and people like us that have to sell it, you that have to install it and manage it. So you're going to have some issues with that in the future for sure, if you want to
Yeah.
maintain the
No.
system.
Well, and that's just it, right? Like why I understand your older technology might not have had the same capabilities of the new one, but that's where when you have a product out there in the market, you kind of, want to make sure that someone doesn't have to replace their whole system to keep the lights on, like uh, just think a little bit about everyone else. And I mean, you'll probably get a lot more contracts knowing that it's not proprietary and, you
There's a
can
lot
just
of
keep this thing
problems with
rolling.
that, though. There's a lot of problems. Okay, so the lighting system prior to the age of LED was all standardized. So what happened was there were tier one companies that fought for new construction contracts. Okay, and those companies got together and said, we're making ceramic metal halide, we're making this type of CFL, we're making this type of linear fluorescent lamp, and it's going to be made exactly to these characteristics. Now everybody go make the replacement parts for that. Then there was a tier two market to the industry, which was people that were after MRO, like or replacement orders, ballast, this kind of stuff. And while the tier ones also wanted the MRO, they were, that you kind of, the old adage, I never got fired for buying GE, GE products or Sylvania or whatever. There would be room for people to make replacement components that were maybe of a lower quality, a lower price, whatever. But now what you see is almost every new LED fixture that comes out is proprietary, Greg, would you not say?
Yeah.
Right? And second of all, the components change every 6 months. So what goes into the fixtures is actually different on a cycling basis of development of LED. So if you had purchased a troffer, 5 years ago, it's completely different than a troffer today. They're not even recognizable when you open them up and look at how they're built. And so there largely is no replacement um, a technology to go into these fixtures. You almost always have to buy a new one. Even if the driver fails, oftentimes you can't find the driver, and it's very difficult to cross drivers. Wouldn't you say, Greg? Even if they are adjustable and they don't fit, they don't have
Yeah.
the same mechanical form factors. You can't get the cover back onto the thing if you put that driver in there. So these problems are real, and this is why we wanted to bring you on and let you know that the lighting industry has not done a good job communicating the life cycle reduction of lighting in commercial properties.
Definitely not. Because I'm hearing this now and I'm like, oh my God, I feel like we've been like
Hoodwinked?
robbed in like a
Yeah.
Ponzi scheme. You're like, this
Yeah.
is wow, really, really got us here with the hook. And all right, I feel the bait. No, there's no bait, just a hook. Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Sunk in
So
nice and deep.
we call that the promises on this show, where LEDs are supposed to last forever. That was the drunken party of until about 2019, where 100,000 hours and 200,000 hours. I'm going 300,000 hours, and the reality is that most pieces of electronics are not going to last that long. And
No,
so there's definitely an issue coming down the pipeline for commercial properties, particularly new construction ones, where the fixtures were all specified to be purpose built LED. So there's no modular components in them. What I would advocate for commercial properties is their replacement by modular LEDs that use traditional lamp shapes in them for the vast majority of the general lighting system. And that way
yeah,
you can change a light bulb if it burns out.
yeah, 100%. I mean, that just looking at replacing all the light fixtures in my building, even on a floor by floor basis. It's not a project I want to take on, especially in a built environment with people working underneath, right? So
Mhm.
not fun.
It's a
And
waste of electrical resources. It's a waste of our metal and materials. It's a waste of time and energy for building managers. People should be, Greg, I advocate for a right to change light bulbs. Like, I think that is something and listen, the promise of LED is always smaller, more energy efficient, more sophisticated fixtures. The problem with this is it's led to garbage every 5 to 10 years in these buildings where you can't do anything with the existing form factors and mechanical housings. And so I don't think this is what a commercial property really wants from a lighting system.
from from the property manager side of
Yes,
things,
yes.
and the owner side, definitely not. From the tenant side, I mean, the one I use is kind of, when you spec $1 million light fixture and it fails, like that's not on us, right?
Mm,
Like that's not on the building to replace that special fixture that you bought.
mm.
Um, right? So kind of choosing your lighting wisely is always a good thing. But those designers.
Well, the problem is that all the incentives in Ontario specifically have been geared towards the purpose built LED fixtures that have no replacement parts. And so it became very difficult to sell modular systems to people because the rebates were just so incredibly high for these purpose built fixtures that you couldn't talk someone out of it. It was just so blinding, so much. You're talking 50% of the project cost is paid for,
Yeah,
as
it's
opposed to
that.
10% with a with a modular. I
I
want
get
to talk to you a little bit more about lighting controls. So, Greg, these luminaire level lighting controls that you've been talking about,
it.
okay, on the show. This is where each fixture is addressable, Paolo, and you can reconfigure them on an app. Is that something that would be attractive as a retrofit to building operators, or would they just rely on their legacy systems and not want to change?
I don't know. For me, I've always kind of dove into the lighting. Back in the day, it was fifth light.
Fifth
Now
light.
it's yeah. And man, that was what a fun system to try and understand and learn. But it was great, initiated some daylight harvesting there, regrouped some lights a little bit different, um, just in terms of the people that were in the space, kind of didn't want this one going off and that one. So um, I think the more programmable and addressable you can make the lights, the better the tenant experience will be. Um, you know, some people prefer to work in the dark, just natural light from outside. Others need it, 110%, just blaring at their face, right? Like they can't see it. So I think the more addressable you can make your lighting system, the better it'll be. The easier you can make it too by, kind of having an app, to kind of streamline it for operators. I think focusing on the end user is like what an app like that where it would really excel. Getting feedback from operators, just to kind of streamline things. I don't want to plug in all the details of the light fixture and then have to click save to, go in and make an edit or something like that.
Mm.
Yeah, streamline it, save some time. That'd be great.
And just for the listeners out there, I wasn't laughing at Fifth Light. I was laughing at how long ago that Fifth Light that Paulo was talking about. That's an old system. I think it's acquired by Cooper now. Fifth Light, if I understand correctly, Greg.
I don't
But
even know what fifth light is. I don't.
oh, it was a lighting control system from way back,
Okay.
maybe 15 years ago. So, and
Maybe it was
I think they
Canadian or
were
something. I don't
acquired
know.
by Cooper or Acuity or something like
Okay.
that. One of the big names out there. So yeah,
Sure.
Paulo, last question set I have for you is recycling. You mentioned in your bio, you talked about e-waste recycling. How are you guys for lamp recycling? Do you guys do you recycle your own lamps? Do you offer it to tenants to bring lights to a certain area of the building or anything like that?
Yeah. So we have, I mean, a plethora of recycling bins in the back. We've created a reuse center here too. So even if you're thinking of just tossing something, from file folders to, you know, anything else, you can really drop anything off in the back. We kind of send communications a couple times a year to remind people of what we have. Battery recycling, e-waste recycling. We kind of do like an e-waste drive, more focused on electronic waste. But yeah, tubes, bulbs. We kind of take everything here because you know making people go to a dump or go to a recycling. just a lot easier when you come to this building 5 days a week. You can just throw it in your bag and drop it off here, right?
Right. And I've got one last question too. On both your buildings, do you have anything left that is not LED?
Yes.
See you tomorrow, Paolo.
Oh man, honestly, and it's one of the things like it main hallway and washrooms.
Mhm.
Like the ground floor, main lobby, hallway, and the washrooms. And I'm like thinking about this is that one where they kind of did the LED schmetrofit, we'll call it, because it was kind of a retrofit, but not really. And that's the thing. Like, if you're looking at savings, washrooms and main lobby are usually
Mhm.
on majority of the time.
Mhm.
That's a
People are there.
why wasn't that first? And then we start working on other things, right? So yes, I do. I do have a couple, but they're on their way out. That's
Mm.
for sure.
All right. Well, Paolo, do you have any advice before we call the show off here for the lighting distributors and contractors out there that are listening to this from a building manager's perspective?
Stop the hook. Stop the hook. After this one, I feel like I'm gonna get on the phone with a couple of people and start ripping on them here. But no, just um, look at reducing the waste, seeing how you can, kind of save operators time, electricians time too. I can't believe I didn't even think about that, but an electrician coming in to change a light fixture instead of an operator just changing two bulbs.
Hmm.
Mind blown. The
Yeah.
resources, money, time, like you just name it across the board, it just doesn't make sense. Um, yeah, as an operator, just do your best to, help out wherever you can.
Solutions, I mean, a lot of the promise of LED has not been fulfilled when it comes to the particular types of properties that you manage. I think your kinds of properties are going to have the hardest time with this turnover simply from the accounting perspective. We thought these were going to last 20 years. Now we're paying for them after 7, 5, 10 years or whatever to replace them all. And then two, just the idea that you have to pay an electrician to come in and to change a light fixture when in the past you would just change light bulbs or even a ballast is again it's a waste issue. Folks, I want to invite you to go to griplocksystems.com, Greg Eric. That's right. Get a grip on grip lock.
That's right. Get rid of those chains. If you're going to
Chains are
hang a
for
fixture,
losers.
if you're going to hang a
Get rid
fixture,
of the
go to Grip Lock.
change. Go to
That's right.
grip lock. I hate my chains.
griplocksystems.com. Great company. Check out the National Association of Innovative Lighting Distributors, NALD.org. All the cool kids are going to be in St. Paul, Minnesota in August this year. So you better be there. If you got light bulbs in a warehouse, you better come on down because if not, we're coming to you. No, I'm just kidding, of course. Go to NAILD.org and we thank Paolo Cordovado for sharing his knowledge and wisdom here on the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast. I think we need to dive more. These are good conversations, Craig. We need to dive more into our customers and start interviewing people like Paolo so that we can refresh. We've heard enough about circadian and blah, 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 all this kind of stuff over the years. It's time to talk to the customers again. Paolo, thank you for being a guest on the show.